Ooh, what's going on? Woo!
What's up, everyone? Welcome in. Welcome in.
Back.
We're back, baby.
2026. Oh man, what a year! What a year we had.
Yeah, 2025 was amazing. I hope it was amazing for everyone too. And if not, then this is your time to shine. 2026, make it yours. And go get it, you know? Like, I think now everyone's like, oh, it's a new year, manifest, do what you want to do really in life. Last year and the year before, I was super manifesting everything that happened, and I can't believe it actually happened. Well, it's like this, right? If you can if you can actually visualize yourself in the position you want, it will happen. I know everyone right now is posting the 2016. Have you seen that trend going on right now?
2016?
Yeah, it's like a trend.
No,
So
I haven't seen that.
I was looking at one of my old accounts, and I remember I had this picture with my guitar, and it was when I was like, I want to start doing music. I was really into the spirituality. I was a yoga teacher, yoga instructor, music meditation was my thing. But you know, that metalhead chick inside of me wanted to emerge back. And I was like, I want to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And of course, I had a lot of trials, tribulations. My mom passed away. I had a lot of things. I mean, I can write a whole paragraph. You know, everybody's saying what happened in the last 10 years. And I gotta say, it made me a stronger person. And then, of course, we all know what happened in 2020, right? So it was like all these things happened. And I started the podcast, started making more connections, more friends, more musicians, not only in the meditation, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my metalheads now on the show. And it just grew from there. And then 5 years later, I mean, it's been, wow, we've traveled to places, met a lot of awesome people. And I gotta say, it's just been an amazing experience. And I hope that you guys learn from every decade. If you're lucky, you get to experience everything that you manifest. And I said, next year, this was 2024. I said, next year, we're gonna do fucking festivals. We're gonna be doing this. And we ended up doing multiple festivals. And we were on the fucking billboard in Times Square with like our name and lights. And we ended up playing at a really cool venue in a festival in Times Square. So that was something I didn't see, but it was fucking awesome. And I gotta say, like, you can put your mind to it and it happens, but you gotta really fucking want it. You gotta really want that shit, and you gotta go for it, because, you know, what are you gonna do? You're gonna just dwell on the past. So yeah, it's good to put you know, those old pictures to see how far you've been going from there. But always think the present is now and the future is what you make. So that's my take on
Kind of like our song, The Anachronist.
Yes, The Anachronist. That's one of the lines.
We released 3 songs last year.
That's right.
We played those festivals. We were working on finalizing our album, and we had amazing guests for the show last year. I got a whole custom snare drum from Voxel Drums. Here, let me show you what this looks like. Hold on.
Yeah, that was amazing. He got it for Christmas, right on time for Christmas. Voxel is amazing. The company that we had on the show last year, end of last year. And I can't believe this. They actually personalized and customized this piece. And it glows in the dark and under black light. And it has the moon phases, because, you know, Luna. And then it also has the logo, the Sky Museum logo. And it has Luna's name on it. It's not really doing it justice, but...
Yeah, green screen.
Yeah. But it's really amazing. We love them. Awesome couple. And yeah, they're doing
so
big
cool.
things.
Yeah, I can't wait to present this and start playing this out. It's gonna be awesome. And yeah, glow in the dark, black light reactive.
Because you know, that's our thing. You know, having
we're all about the lights and stuff.
Yeah, so this year I want to have more like automation type of lights at the show. So that's something I want to do this year. Make it a little bit more, you know, more lights.
Yeah,
flashing.
we have a lot of big plans this year. We were looking into joining or checking out some drum events, music events, so that we can go and do some interviews of up and coming musicians and vendors and industry leaders and whatnot. So our goal this year is to really provide a lot more of that coming out of the YenYorkCity podcast channel.
Speaking of, today we have an amazing guest, and he is from Quantum Industries, and it's a more of a all around musician necessity if you're on the road touring. I mean, we beat up our equipment a lot.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think everyone needs in their life. So we're going to have him on, and he's going to explain more about the company and how amazing and good quality their products are, really. So if you're not if you're not familiar with them, you will be tonight. So that's going to be awesome. So Zack Seif, are you?
Seif. Zack Seif.
You see, you messed me up. He kept on saying it wrong.
Yeah, I know.
And of course, that's what happens. I said it right, and then you said it wrong.
Yeah, you said it right in the beginning, and then like I got in your head.
Oh, it's a Jersey boy thing. No, I'm just kidding. He's a Jersey boy, and you guys are going to be talking about all your adventures about being from Jersey, because he's also a musician too, and he's going to be telling us more about what his side of being a musician is like, and also about the company that he works for, and he's representing it today. So Quantum Industries. Zack, are you ready for me?
I am ready. Let's do this.
All right, let's
do
go.
it. Here he is.
Woo!
There's Zack
What's up?
Seif, right? Seif. Zack
Seif, you got
Seif.
it.
Yeah, I said
It's
it
a
wrong. I
50-50
still said
shot.
it wrong. I still said it wrong.
It's all good.
Wow,
Oh,
your
man.
camera is so beautiful and sharp. You look great. What kind of camera are you using?
Thank you. This is a Logitech that I picked up maybe 3 months into lockdown because I was doing private guitar lessons at the time, and the built-in camera on my MacBook at the time was just not cutting it because, the angle's weird between where I have to have my guitar or my piano or my drum set and then where I have to see the student. So this was one of the only ones that was in stock because everyone and their mother was buying up webcams left and right. So this is just their 1080p model from like 5-6 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, it looks super crisp. You look great. And
Appreciate it.
wow, you have a lot of stuff in the background there.
Yeah, one of the perks of working for a tour case and flight case company is you get to check everything out and have samples of everything in case anyone's ever coming by town and wants to check them out in person. And as you mentioned before, I'm also a full-time musician, so everything you see behind me is personal cases that I use year-round. So I constantly have experience with the actual products that we make and give feedback to the team and everything like that. So having access to those allows me to also put them to the test in real world situations and provide the feedback that every brand would dream of having if everyone in their company was also using their products, So it's a nice way to keep everything musician centered and musician focused. We won't make something that we wouldn't personally use.
Yeah, and I did some research on the company, and it's developed by musicians, right? So, yeah, I mean, you would have to be a musician to understand exactly what you need for musicians. So
Exactly.
Is the one thing I couldn't figure out is I noticed the website is has the domain for Japan.
Yeah.
Is it Asia based strictly, or is it like, are they expanding out elsewhere? Like, what's the story behind that?
That's a very common question that we get, and the domain name doesn't help at all.
No.
So we have Quantum for the majority of its life was 2 people, then 3 when I joined, and right now I think we have a team of like 10 or so. So originally our founder Lee and his bandmate, business partner Jackal, they started the company when Lee was still based in Japan, and Jackal's based in Hong Kong. So it is headquartered in Asia. A lot of people ask if we're Chinese or Japanese. We're really neither. But at the time, Lee was based in Japan, and we figured that's where we would be centered. We do all of our manufacturing, keep stock there and whatnot. But it made sense during pandemic times to relocate everything to Hong Kong so the 2 of them can constantly be close enough to the factories, take care of the warehouses, the shipping, all the photo shoots, video drops, all that. So it's technically a Hong Kong-based company, but we do ship and have distribution worldwide. So there's very few places that we can't ship to, and that's kind of the story behind that. So Quantum was supposed to be based in Japan, which is why we have the .jp, but we also are looking into now having different domains for different regions that all kind of funnel back to the homepage so that people can more easily find their native language and conversions and currency rates and everything like that. So for all intents and purposes, it's a Hong Kong-based company. I manage the US side of things and artist relations here, and the rest of the team is scattered throughout Asia. And then we also have exclusive distribution in Australia as well, and they operate as a second branch for us as well, for everyone, you know, down under.
I noticed that that's a new addition, right? The Australia location.
I'm going to say we're coming up on 2 years, probably. The main reason why we needed to have someone else take care of that is, for those who don't ship internationally to Australia often, it's rather time consuming and not super cost effective to be doing one-on-one shipments, you know, so like one case on a Monday, one case on a Wednesday, 2 weeks from now we send 3 more things. It's very expensive to import things down there, so it made more sense to find a proper distributor. We work with Sky Music right now, and so what they'll do is they'll place a proper vendor order, like half or a full shipping container, so that we can get everything over at a reasonable rate like we do here in the States, or we do in the other places that we distribute. And then they take care of everything for us down there. They handle all the Australian and New Zealand artists and customers and stuff like that. And we're trying to achieve more of that this year, especially in Europe. Again, we currently ship most of our products one at a time to most regions, but for the US and Australia, it makes sense to have proper warehousing and distribution there, because one-off items are just not the most practical in terms of either cost or time. So Australia is coming up in about 2 years. We've always had fulfillment here in the States, which is to this day still our largest market by far. I'm gonna take a shot and say at least 50% of all of our sales are US based, followed by Asia and Europe, and then everything else after that. So the goal is to have more distribution, mostly just so that shipping and fulfillment becomes a bit quicker. Not that it takes a long time now, but the cost as well. If we can just get everything over in bulk cheaper, and then someone else can help ship it, and then the customer just has an easier time with everything. So our goal for this year is to have distribution in other areas as well.
Yeah, that'll be good, especially with the tariffs and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What's up, Lawrence? Welcome into the chat. And so I noticed I saw a video from Olaf. He did a review on one of the guitar cases. I think that's the the GSX ones?
The GTX.
GTX, yeah. It was pretty cool because he did the side-by-side comparison, and he was like, I'm definitely taking this on the road, considering how much more he can fit with the 3 guitars that he has, and how durable it is, you know, for how thin it is, because the quality of the materials is what really matters for, you know, the product that you're developing, and you're competing against other companies that has materials that's relatively thicker and heavier. So, and your thing is, you know, for Quantum, is making sure that the product you're delivering is going to be lightweight, but yet durable and protects everything inside. So, how is that being considered? Like, is that through a lot of trials and errors? Is that like how has that kind of formed, you know, with Quantum?
For sure. So when Lee and Jackal set out to start Quantum Industries, it came out of necessity. In terms of the current cases that they were already using, they weren't getting the support from the company that they needed when they had issues, and a lot of parts weren't user replaceable. There's a lot of cases on the market right now that really can't be fixed unless you completely rip it apart and put it back together, or there's just no easy access to do that. So the thought behind our cases was, let's make everything flight ready, make everything as light as possible, make everything as durable as possible, but then also make it so that the user has the least amount of potential frustrations and roadblocks on the user side of things. So the idea there first was the polycarbonate, because if we use pure aluminum, it gets dented and then it doesn't close properly. You can like hit it back into place, but it's never going to be 100%. So now you have, you know, maybe moisture or air getting into the case, and it's like, well, that's not ideal, because we could be in Alaska one day and Africa the next day, like in theory. So we need the case to not be so malleable as aluminum would be. So we went with polycarbonate. It's, I believe, 250 times stronger than plexiglass. It's crack and shatter resistant, which is part of the reason why we use it, and we trust it for the outer shell. And then it's enforced with an aluminum skeleton on the inside. So once the poly takes the bulk of the impact, anything else goes to the aluminum. And then there's that thick, high-density EVA foam that you see throughout the top, bottom, and the middle of the case. So if there's still any sort of shock or impact after that, that takes care of everything. And then it leaves the guitars with almost nothing being taken, you know, if the case were to ever get, you know, hit or damaged or fall or anything like that. And we have a very specific blend of polycarbonate that we use. I don't know if it's exclusive to us, but it is a very specific formula, because as I was telling Luna off camera, there's different blends that you can go with to get different weights or colors. You can have it more matte, you can have it super shiny, you can have it all sorts of different ways depending on what it is you need to make the product out of. So that's the thought behind why we use those materials. We also want to make sure that there wasn't a lot of dead air in the case. Before Quantum launched the first GTX in 2020, a lot of cases that we already had access to they just left a lot of empty room, which means, you know, guitars could move up
Rattling,
or down, or it's just big, so now the shipping cost is higher because it's a bigger package.
Right.
And if you're flying with it, anything over 50 inches is, you know, insane, the fee that they charge you.
Yeah.
So we had to take all that into consideration. So what we did is we wanted to make sure that at least the first model we came out with, which was the GTX that we've been talking about, could fit the majority of 6, 7, and 8 string guitars, because there wasn't a lot of answers for those. You know, at the time, if you were playing baritone, 7s, 8s, ERGs in general, you needed a bass case in most situations, and at that point there's already a whole extra foot of dead air. So it's making everything practical, making it so that you feel comfortable using it without a guitar tech. It's got to be under 50 pounds fully loaded so that you can fly free with most airlines, and we want it to be able to fit in the back of your car. I'm not taking a trailer or a tour bus or a bandwagon for most of what I do. It's my Honda CR-V. So this thing has to fit in there without destroying my car, and it does. I fold one seat down, that fits where the single seat was, and then I have all that extra room for my amp, my pedal board. I can fit another band member, we can fit merch, we can fit our fans.
Space
suitcases.
is crucial, yes.
Exactly. And even in a trailer, I did a big trailer tour in 2022 with my band Crash the Party, and we had our whole light show. So it's 4 light and video walls. We had all the drum set equipment, we had guitar stack, bass stack, all of our instruments, and the GTX took up the least amount of space, and it can be ratchet strapped, no problem. It can be laid down and stacked on top of, no problem. And after having had that tour experience where I'm like, okay, this thing can clearly handle everything that we say it can, because now I've had the personal experience with that, and I think I'm close to 400 shows now on my personal cases, so I know the ins and outs of them, and I feel confident and comfortable when I try to explain how the case works in real life, because I've been able to use it, you know, so much on my own. I feel like that's something a lot of companies wish they had, were more people in the company that really know the ins and outs of the product, not just on paper or in the factory or at the desk, but in real world situations. And that's why every time we re-release a product, it's never the same one. Like if you bought a GTX in 2022, the one you're buying today is even better, because we just make even the smallest incremental changes, whether it's a different type of bolt or rivet, or we want to scoop the foam out a little bit differently, or smoosh something back a little bit so that a Floyd Rose bridge fits better, or a headstock angle is a little bit further from the back of the case. we won't stop until there's literally nothing else that we can think of, so I think that's another strength of what we do, because it's all small batch. We can just constantly add improvements to things every single time, and even if there's nothing wrong with the case, we just feel like there's a better way to do something, we'll do it. So you're never getting the same thing twice. It's always going to be better and better and better.
So do you
Constantly improving the model.
Do you build by order, or do you have stock already? Like,
yeah, great question. So right now we do small batches. So usually we'll put an order in for 100 to 200 pieces at a time, and then we can split that between the different models that we have. So we'll do, say, 100 GTX, 50 AGX, 50 VXP. And then those all get made at once. We quality control everything. And then we figure out, okay, half of that goes to the US, 20% that goes to Australia, 30% stays in Asia and Europe. And that's how we do that. So we'll have limited stock at a time, because again, it's easier to warehouse and rent space out when you only have, half a shipping container's worth or whatnot, or however many square feet our products take up, than it is to ship 1,000 of something at once, and then we're stuck with that exact iteration for 2 or 3 years. Whereas the smaller batches mean that we can just keep on making them better more frequently, and that's something that I'm a big fan of, especially when it comes to technology. I like when I'm constantly getting updates for applications and programs that I use, like Logic and Final Cut. I feel like they're always putting out updates, and same thing with Fractal and Helix and Quad Core. There's a new update like every couple weeks. So I feel like I'm constantly getting more and more out of that, and it's always going to be better. So we have that same philosophy when it comes to our cases, because tech is such a big part of our world. Well, why don't we try and mirror that to make sure that our cases are always better and better? You're not stuck with the same thing.
Right. Yeah. That is good. Yeah, I had when we do our shows, we're always trying to fit everything into my Honda Civic, and space is pretty crucial when you're trying to pack cases and boxes and bags and stuff. Lauren says, "Got it. I have to buy a Honda." Okay.
But he's a guitarist. Like, think about it. A drummer in a it's just like, he needs a truck. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always trying to Jenga and like Tetris our stuff into the car, and I'm always stuck like in the front seat holding something. But that's the way it is sometimes. You got to make it work, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you gotta make sure that the show goes on no matter what, and the easier you can make it for yourself, the better that it's going to be for you long term.
But cases are so important because equipment is so expensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite? Do you have a personal favorite case that you are like, that's like die hard, I will always use this kind of case forever?
Yeah, so I got my first quantum case in 2020 when I started working here, and we can talk more about that in a second. And like I said, I have close to 400 shows on my personal cases, especially that one. So the GTX has been our flagship bread and butter. Like that's what we're known for, is the most optimal triple case on the market. And I can put 2 guitars in it. I can put 3 guitars in it. I can put 2 guitars and a pillow and some clothes if we're playing a casino date. As we mentioned before, I'm from Jersey, so I used to play in Atlantic City almost every 2 or 3 weeks, all the different casinos down there. As you guys know, there's live music there almost 7 nights a week, year round, especially in the summer. So on weekends where we would be playing Bally's on Friday and then Caesars on Saturday, for example, I don't want to bring 3 or 4 cases around with me. So I would have my GTX with 2 guitars and maybe my pillow and stuff like that, and then my road case would have everything else, so that I can leave some stuff in the hotel room and then bring everything else to the venue and not have to keep on going back and forth to the trailer or my car or anything. So being able to utilize that extra space when you only need 2 guitars instead of 3, but you have the option for 3 when you need that extra.
Yeah. Lawrence asks in chat, Quantum has foam cases? Define
Like
foam. I think as mentioned, inside their flight cases, there is a type of foam that's being used to protect it. But in the road cases, are they using the same technology, same foam technology?
Yeah, we use the same type of foam throughout everything. So the wall and like inner foam is what we call EVA foam. That's just the type of it. But then what we also provide is, because everyone has different guitars and no two brands make the same exact dimensions of stuff. I mean, you know, a Les Paul has a shorter scale length, but it's physically taller than a Strat, you know. So what we do is we provide a lot of extra foam that you can then use to shape the rest of the case yourself. So for some people who use shorter bodied guitars like me, I use the Music Man Petrucci guitars, which are physically smaller than a Strat, even though they're the same scale length. So I have extra foam that you can put on the top of the case, and it just gives you more padding and protection for the top. And then we also have 2 longer pieces for in between the guitars for when you fly. So that, again, it's just extra comfort, extra protection. You don't need any of that stuff, but we provide it so that you have the best peace of mind possible. There's several different safety features inside the case that all work together that you can choose to use or choose not to use. But yeah, it's the same type of foam in every vault style case that we make.
And there's also a lot of artists that I've seen on the roster that are using these cases to tour, and it's a lot of big names too.
I'm gonna pull them up real quick so we can showcase who you have as the artists on your roster, because did you have a hand in getting a lot of these people on?
Yeah, I mean, we all have a fair share of clients. I would say I probably handled the bulk of them because, again, my role is artist relations. So I mean, just on that list alone, I'd say half of those are directly for me and the other half are from Lee and Jackal, just having toured with these musicians before and being personal friends with them. So I mean, these are people where, you know, we have their cell phone numbers, you know, we're constantly exchanging ideas back and forth, or talking to their guitar techs, we hang out at NAMM. And what we really pride ourselves in is, you know, when you reach out to us on Instagram, you're speaking to one of, you know, like I said, maybe 5 total people, and you'll always hear back from the person that you've been working from, not just, you know, some random phone operator or anything like that, so to speak. You know, it's like if you buy a case from me, every time you reach out, I will personally get back to you. And we think that builds a really good sense of community, because they feel more connected to the product because they know who they bought it from, and they can always reach out and get the support that they need. So we're very, very happy with how the artist roster has turned out so far in the 5 years that, you know, our products have been available.
Yeah, this looks really cool. A lot of great musicians.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
If you go down the line, there's Herman Lee, Steve Vai. And this is
Tesseract.
a one-on-one connection that you have. So like, if anybody wants to ask you any questions or any like on the whole design, do they get any customized features if they ask for it?
Sure, that's a great question. So right now, everything is mold based. So we have specific injection molds for each different case that we have. So there's currently no customization available because, again, it's all small batch and everything's mold based. It's rather pricey to deviate from that because of the way that everything is made and the R&D that we do up front to make each case possible. We do heavily want to look into at least a semi-custom set of options, you know, before the end of the decade so far, but it's something where our output and our demand, it has to make sense in the first place. I think the thing we get asked most is, can you install lights in it and can you make it a different color? And the big thing with the lights is there's definitely a way we could go about it right now if people don't mind the extra weight, even if it's an extra pound, you know, because the lights are going to need a power source somewhere. So does that mean we have to drill an AC outlet in the back? Do we use a rechargeable battery pack and make sure that the lithium battery is not going to explode when you're mid-flight? And then custom colors of the case too, which, again, possible, but we would have to do, you know, like 200 in red, 200 in white, 200 in black. And then they'd say people just don't want the red for some reason. Now we're sitting on 200 red cases that are just taking up space. But personally, I've been trying to push that. I'm a big fan of like charcoal grays and like winter whites and stuff like that for all my personal travel cases and my sweatshirts and stuff. So I would love cases that kind of match that. I know companies like Mesa Boogie do custom Tolex covers for an upcharge. So at some point, that's something we definitely want to consider. But for now, you get the base model, and then we do include extras in it, like the accessories pouches, humidifier packs, the 5 pieces of extra foam, so you can kind of tweak it for your specific guitars. We don't have any like, you know, secret menu options or anything like that right now, but you are able to install a lot of that on your own. Like in my old GTX back there, I used to have an LED strip that would strobe during the performance. And again, I installed that myself because, as I mentioned earlier, I use slightly smaller guitars, so I wanted to add extra foam before I installed it. So if the lights came pre-installed, I would be blocking them from the extra foam that I already had to install on them. So by leaving the case more of an open concept like that, you can kind of spec it out, tweak it to how you need it, and then you can add those things later on. You know, a strip of lights is like $10 or whatnot, and you know, a can of spray paint's like, you know, however much. So we leave a lot of that up to the user right now, but again, it's something that we definitely want to consider in the near future.
Yeah,
Definitely cool.
So as of right now, you have a lot of guitar cases is where it kind of like developed and grew. I know we mentioned we're going to touch on the DRM case, so that way we can have that out in the clear. So initially you had presented the DRM concept with me in the beginning, and then you had created the DRM for a specific amount of time. You want to give some insight as to where you stand with the DRM right now, and what's the future looking like for drummers?
Absolutely. So probably end of 2022 or so, it became really apparent that with the success of the guitar and bass cases, we wanted to round out the rest of the band. The majority of groups out there are at least guitar, bass, drums. So what do we have for drummers? Well, drummers already have so many different options out there, so we don't want to just make another set of soft cases, because again, we need 6-inch, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. We'd be sitting on 100 SKUs by the time we figured out every snare drum, kick drum, and tom out there. Same thing with cymbals. We don't want separate cases for everything, and we didn't want to go into vaults just yet, or the giant, you know, 100-pound road cases that people can fit their whole kit in. So what's something different that we could do? And we're like, well, our guitar cases feel a very specific need. We want multiple guitars at once. So for drummers, knowing that they typically have the most amount of stuff to bring in and set up, they could be looking at 12 plus cases a night if you have one per shell, cymbals, hardware, pads, triggers, extras. What if we made a breakables case, something that you need at every gig? You always need your snare, your kick pedal, your cymbals, your sticks. You can backline and rent and share shells rather easily for the majority of touring artists, but those things are very personable, and they're called breakables for a reason, because they're the first things that are going to break or have a very specific sound that you need access to. So the idea behind the DRM was, well, how can we fit the snare, the kick pedal, the cymbals, and maybe some extras all into one? So it started
House kit essentials.
House kit essentials. There you go. So the idea behind that stemmed from exactly that. So the first iteration of that, which launched in, I'm going to say, fall of 2023. The fact that it's 2026 already is throwing everything off by a year. I know. So we loved the idea when it first came out. We brought the sample case to NAMM 2024, and immediately people were like, what is that? What, you know, like, what can I fit in it? Because from the outside, it almost looks like it could be a guitar amp case. Like, oh, cool, it's a road case, so I can put my tube amp in or my speaker cabinet. But then you open it like an accordion, and it had two separate divided areas. One that fit the snare and kick pedal, one that fit the cymbals, a stick brick, and triggers or IEMs or a small mixer. And people were like, this is genius. This is going to be such a great idea. You guys should go for it. So we did. We threw out the first, like, let's say 150 to 200 of them. And as you can see on screen, we threw this concept out into the wild and made it a possibility for a short time. We wanted just like 150 to 200 pieces out there, get real world feedback, see what works, see what doesn't work. And we made it very, very apparent that we wanted to make this a road specific model because we weren't sure how flying with something this big or heavy would, work with TSA. Just airline travel in general is so unpredictable, should we say. And it led us to find we ended up finding several things that we really liked about the case and several things that we really wanted to change should we choose to go forward with that. So it started off based on one of our guitar cases, so it has the same polycarbonate shell, the Hinomoto wheels, the TSA locks, the EVA foam, but it's too much equipment for one case for most people. Fully loaded, most drummers were looking at 70 to 100 pounds, and that's just a lot to be in one thing at once. And because it wasn't flight specific, it didn't fit the quota of everything else that we did, which is flight ready guitar cases. And obviously if something's flight ready, it's also road ready, but just because something's good for the road does not mean it's good for flying.
Right.
So we decided to take all the feedback we got in from these 150 DRMs, and we still have a lot of people using them every single day. For local travel, a lot of Nashville Broadway guys are using them, people in major cities, people who just need backline stuff, session guys. And we're in the midst of designing and reworking that case specifically to be more flight accessible and usable and appropriate. The idea that we're toying with is if we cut it in half and either make two sister cases that can maybe attach together once you're at your destination and loading in, cool, maybe that makes sense, but they can detach and fly separately so that you're not meeting weight or size limits on TSA. And if you already have a cymbal vault or case that you really like, but you don't want to bring 3 separate bags for your snare, your double pedal, and your sticks, all of that now fits in one compact flight style suitcase that will hold up and not give TSA a headache. So that's the approach that we want to take with that is, hey, this idea seems to have great feedback, people want it, there's demand for it, we made a couple of them, tons of feedback, we take all of it sincerely, and it's back in the drawing board right now. So there's no ETA for something new, but we know the direction we want to take, and we're hoping to have more information, if not by the end of this year, hopefully early next year. It's one of those things where we kind of have to start from scratch again and redesign it with different dimensions and go from there. So that's our first kind of foray into drum cases. Again, very happy with what we were able to come up with. It was very unique. There was really nothing like it at the time, but we can make it better.
Yeah.
So we're not going to settle for that. We're going to keep redefining it, go back to the drawing board and see if we can make it even better so that it matches the rest of the arsenal that we have.
That's
Yeah,
good
like
news
you
for
said.
drummers.
Yeah, like you said, always redesigning, always looking and improving the product itself. I mean, it's a really good looking case. I think it's beautiful
Yeah.
and amazing, but when you go into the airport and how much you're going to pay extra for a case like that is also something you got to put in mind. So having little sister cases is genius, because I think that would work for different drummers too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we kind of have like that understanding because Christopher Surfer, he travels with his bike all the time.
Oh yeah.
And he has this really big bike bag that he throws on the just to travel with it, and it's quite pricey because on top of that it's just like a one of those like zip up bags for the bikes, and then we were telling him like you got to get a hard case for this thing because they're
so
just
expensive.
tossing everywhere. And there's been times where you notice like the brakes go get kinked or the bag was ripped, so that he has to get new bags. So durability and how light the case is definitely a big factor when traveling.
I'm excited to see what's gonna happen with those cases because it is a really good looking case. I like it. I think it looks very cool. So I can just imagine the redesign is gonna be even cooler.
You got to start somewhere, How are you going to know if you don't do something to figure out what it is?
And like I mentioned earlier, the whole reason this company exists is there was a necessity for something, and we figured out how to go about that. I know that our two founders, Lee and Jackal, spent several years developing and designing the GTX before Quantum Industries was an entity of any kind, and I didn't know about them until I'm gonna say probably the end of 2019, because that's when I was starting to tour more regularly and play shows every month. So the local band that I was, a touring guitarist for, I was like, I want one of those multi cases, but I don't need the big 10 guitar belt that like Metallica has,
Yeah.
So is there a prosumer version of that? I saw that Jackal was coming up with this triple guitar case, and the pre-order price for the first 100 people, I was like, oh, I can do that, this is so cool, I can fit 3 guitars in here. So I reached out and I was like, hey man, what's the timeline for this? And he's like, yeah, early 2020. And I was like, man, I have shows like next month. So I didn't get one initially, went with another brand. It completely fell apart in like 6 months. No customer support whatsoever. Not gonna dive too deep into that, but very disappointed. So then I reached out to him. I mean, this would have been early pandemic, and he's like, yeah, they finally launched. No one's playing shows right now.
I know.
So it was like the worst possible time, but also the best possible time to launch one, because it left us in everyone's minds for when everything started opening back up, 2021, 2022. By that point, everyone had tours again, and they were like, oh, it's time to upgrade cases. This company's out and they have this really cool thing. So it kind of worked out, even though on paper it's like great time to launch a company's March of 2020, but here we are almost 6 years later. We're about to have our 4th NAMM show. We saw the artist roster earlier, so we really can't complain.
Yeah, you guys, so that's this month. You must be super excited about going to NAMM.
NAMM is such a highlight for me personally, because as a young musician and a kid growing up, I knew what NAMM was very early on, because my music teacher in high school, Vince, was very up to date with the music industry and very involved with everything that was going on. He was a singer-songwriter and recording artist as well, and he would explain what NAMM was, in our different music classes in high school. And I looked into it a little bit when I was in college, and I was like, oh, they have like student discounts and stuff like that, and I was teaching lessons at a school, so I was like, oh, maybe I can go on behalf of the school. But, the flight and the hotel don't pay for itself, so I just never had a chance to go. So as soon as I started working with Quantum, and I couldn't make it in 2023 when NAMM reopened, because I already had shows booked, but for 2024 onward, it's something that I just look forward to, because personally it's something I always wanted to do. And once you get the first one out of the way, you kind of understand what it is. A lot of people have certain a vision as to what NAMM is, and they think it's like the end all be all. Oh, this is awesome, I'm gonna run into all these famous musicians. It's really just a super loud guitar center for 3 days straight, where there's just noise coming from everywhere. There's drums, there's amps all over the place, there's 50,000 people or whatever from all over the world. It's noisy, it's busy, but it's also the best part of the year, in my opinion, because it's the only time that we can see everyone we work with. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but we also do branding and OEM bags for other companies, so we get to finally see those people in real life and keep in touch person to person and face to face, and have meetings directly with them and talk about what they like about the products that we make for them and things that they want changed. We can bring samples to other people. We can have small luthiers come over and be like, hey, I'm making 10 guitars this year, can I get 10 of these customized? And it's so great to have those in-person connections, because for as connected as we are online these days, until you have that face-to-face connection, that's when something really blossoms and becomes official, in my opinion. So NAMM is that moment for me where everyone I talk to during the year, which is several thousand people, that putting the face to the name and having them see these things in real life, almost always, it only grows from there.
Yeah. You touched lightly on this just now, and you mentioned that you do like custom like cases for people like that create guitars, and they need a case to give with the guitar. You do that for them, right? You want to elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, how does that process work?
Absolutely. So probably 2022, 2023 or so, Jackal, one of the founders of Quantum, is an artist of Aristides guitars. They're based in the Netherlands, and they're known for making guitars that are completely synthetic. There's no wood.
Oh.
It's a man-made material that's acoustically perfect. It's super resonant and lightweight, and it's very good for the environment. So even though they look like they're made of wood, it's it's a plastic composite.
Wow.
But it responds and sounds just like wood does. It was this whole thing. If you go on their website, there's like a several page like science lesson behind the material and everything.
I gotta look into that one.
He's been an artist of theirs forever. I mean, he's got to own several dozen of them at this point, and I always wanted them. They were really big, you know, and they were only getting bigger. They have a great artist roster, and they're just great people, and I like what they do, and I support what they do. And because he had such a great connection with them, when we started also making gig bags outside of the vaults, they were the first people where we were like, hey, can we try making the bag for you and build this relationship even deeper? And to this day, we make cases for them. So what happens is right now we have one gig bag lineup that is available worldwide. It's called our Hachi Man series, where we have our H, G, and B 80K series. So we make headless guitar bags, the H series, full-size electric bags, the G series, and bass guitars, the B series. So 3 different models in this. And what we do for these different brands is we take the case we already have, and then we can either embroider their logo on it, which you can kind of see. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick this up, but there's the little A on the top.
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah,
got
I
to see
see
that
it.
there. Yeah, you see the
Logo.
reflective on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what we can also do is take our nameplate here, which says Quantum Industries, but we can also put their logo on the plate
Oh.
instead. So we do custom plates, or we can send you blank plates if you can engrave locally. And there's a zipper inside where you can just easily swap them, which is one of the cool things with our bags. So if you want a small order and you don't know what kind of customization you want to do, we can send you blank or stock plates, and you can always swap them out later if you have access to engraving. But yeah, so we make them, you know, with your logo embroidered on them. We can change a couple things, and that's
Do you make them individually, or is it like by X amount of orders? Like, for instance, like
It's
a
by-
bulk type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So bulk is always preferred. We typically start with orders of at least 50 pieces or 100, but it depends on the level of customization they want. Some people just want the stock bag as it is, so we can easily sell them 5 or 10 of those at a time. But what we can also do is, if you're going to say, hey, we do 50 guitars a year, but we want all the options. So we'll give you a deposit, say for like 100, we'll buy 50 up front, and then we'll keep 50 here for your next order, so you don't have to buy them all at once, because it's still something that we're newer with, and we have a couple brands that we've been doing it long term. We're constantly finding new ways to make it more approachable for small luthiers, medium-sized luthiers, and even companies that are making, you know, hundreds of guitars a year, like Aristides are, where they have different build schedules, they have different demand. Some of them only make a few guitars a year, some makes, you know, a couple hundred. So we have different options, and it's one of those things where we can sit down and discuss what your needs are, how big your guitars are, do we have a dimension that fits, how many you typically make, do you want embroidered, do you want the logo plate? So there's a lot of options that we can offer with that.
Yeah, we had a luthier on our stream
Yeah.
a while ago, and he's from Canada, so we'll pass along some your details, and should he ever need any cases, I'll have him reach
That'd
out
be
to you.
great. Yeah, it's one of the newer things where we actually brought another person on board the team, and one of their main things is finding more, you know, luthiers to work with, just so we can expand that side of things, because it's really not common to find a company that does giant vaults, bags, and then also makes things for other people too. And it's not like we're a giant factory. We're a small entity that works with different factories and distribution centers to have different products for musicians out there. So it's really cool to kind of have a little behind the scenes on all of that, because you don't learn any of this stuff when you're in music school or just, you know, watching things randomly. Like, you have to seek this information out or be a part of it physically, you know.
Right. Speaking of, you went to Berkeley, and I see your sweater there. You're representing.
Yep. Yeah,
So-
Berkeley was really cool. It was one of those things where, again, like, I'm in high school and I find out that Berkeley is a thing, and like all my favorite guitar players went there. And I wanted to go really badly when I was done with high school. The finances of it didn't work. I think at the time it was like $65,000 a year, and I just didn't feel like, as an 18-year-old with a part-time job, like that amount of money just didn't compute in my mind. You know, that would have been $250,000 by the time it's all said and done. So I stayed local, did that for 2 years. It was a great idea because I had no debt from that. And then I still wanted to do the Berkeley thing. So when I realized they had an online portion that was the exact same classes with the same professors and the same curriculum, but you can do it from home, and classes were $1,400 each, it was just a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you go from paying $65 a year to paying $12 a year. So you can get the whole degree online for less than 1 year physically going to the school. And because I was already teaching and touring, and then at some point also started doing this as well, it made no sense to pick up and leave everything I've worked for at that point. So I did the online program, and it was so cool to still do the Berkeley thing, fulfill that little childhood dream of mine, and also get a music business degree. I went for music business and marketing, and a lot of that really helped when I started working for Quantum, because I already had a great idea as to how a lot of this stuff worked, the business side of things, the investment side of things. But I also took a lot of classes on tour planning and artist management and relations and music contracts and law and business and all that. So
I need to talk more to you, because that's exactly what we like to find out too. And that's something that a lot of musicians don't really know the ins and outs of, because they're not educated in it.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where, again, unless you know where to get the information, or unless you really sit down and focus on it, you're just kind of hearing it from random people, little blurts and splops here and there about, oh, this guy's getting sued for this, and oh, this guy infringed upon, or this guy signed this contract and it was a terrible deal, and why is this guy making $1,000 and I'm only making $100 for the same thing? Yeah. So having that background before I started doing a lot of this stuff full-time and professionally was great, because the second I get handed a contract, the first thing I do is I know how to look it over. I know exactly what everything means, and I almost never sign anything these days because they're all just so one-sided and god-awful. So then when I come back being like, I know what you're trying to do, here's why I'm not doing it, you know?
Yeah.
So
read the fine print.
Exactly. Or just even knowing what terms are, because you can look at something and it's like, here on forth as now known as forevermore, and I'm like, it's like a Shakespeare play. It's like a Shakespeare play in a contract for a cover band. Like, come on, you know.
Thou hast thine committed thy soul.
Thou should not let me.
Your soul is mine.
Sign here with blood.
Literally. Yeah. It's like every contract in NDA I've ever signed is basically like, yeah, we own you in perpetuity, and yeah.
So you're the man I should ask. What are the top 3 things that you would give as good advice to bands that are starting?
All right, number 1, never ever sign anything unless you have a music business specific lawyer not only look at it, but break down each clause for you. Because if you just hand it to a lawyer, they're going to look at it and say, yeah, no, this is all written the way it's supposed to. These are standard terms. Well, I don't do standard. You shouldn't do standard. If you looked at the average recording contract, you would realize why most bands don't make money for the first 5 albums unless they go multi-platinum. And even then, everything's a loan. Everything is, oh, we're going to own this asset until you pay us back. So never, ever sign anything until you fully understand every single clause in that contract. That's the most important thing I can say. And that's also why personally, for all the things I do not sign contracts unless either I write it myself or I have a chance to negotiate with someone, because the first thing you see is almost always going to be one-sided, and I don't want anyone out there to be stuck into that, because I've had friends who are still stuck in contracts that they cannot get out of, and it either bankrupts them or makes them unable to actually do what they want to, and it's such a sad thing to see. So don't sign anything until someone can explain everything to you. That's my first piece of advice. My second is figure out what your niche is going to be before you start doing branding and marketing for what it is you want to do. The more you can relate to a specific group of people to start with, that's where the base and your cult following starts from, and then you can kind of build and expand from there. So like Quantum started as a guitar case company. We had a ton of musicians, mostly in the metal scene, who weren't getting a lot of spotlight from the big names, even if they were, artists who are big in metal. Oh, we're going to give a signature guitar to this pop artist instead because they were playing in front of 30 million people a year and they have a billion streams. So we took all those metal guys in because we're all metalheads at heart. All of us were in touring metal bands or still playing metal bands and stuff like that. Half my tattoos are all metal band logos. Yeah. So we started with that. We built our following, and now it's to the point where you look at our artist roster, there's blues, rock, there's K-pop, there's Japanese metal, there's rock, there's soul, there's acoustic acts, and it's guitar players, bassists, drummers. We have techs and road managers that supply all of their bands with our stuff. So we might not even have deals with some bands, but their manager will only buy from us and stuff like that. But we started in one place, we capitalized on that, we focused everything there. Now we can expand, and every time we put something else out, we have jazz guys hitting us up, rock guys hitting us up, and it's so cool to finally have that. But you have to start somewhere for the consistency and the awareness, and then you can kind of build from there. So figure out what your niche is, figure out what kind of problem you're solving, and what your market and demographic is. Really push into that early on, build up that beginning, and then you can expand and flourish from there. So I'd say that's my second piece of advice. And then third, for as cheesy and simple as this sounds, you got to have fun with it. It's got to be something that you're incredibly passionate about. You're going to put in hundreds of hours doing stuff you don't want, like removing breaths from YouTube videos every time you take a breath and you want to cut those out. That's going to take you 5 hours during your first video, but you slowly get better at editing all that stuff out. You're going to have really bad transitions the first time you do a video. When you're writing a song, it's not going to be a perfect first take. You're going to have extra hand noise and string noise, and you might throw out, play a bad drum fill and throw an explicative out, and now you got to redo the entire drum take. It's not going to be perfect the first time. But as long as you remind yourself why you're doing it in the first place, everything becomes easier. You get into a workflow. You can get into the flow state a lot easier. And now when I sit down and make like a YouTube video for my YouTube channel, what used to take me 2 or 3 days or maybe 2 or 3 hours takes a tenth of that time, because I know exactly how I want to structure all of my content. I have templates for everything. I have presets for everything that work for the majority of what I do. When it comes to learning music, I'm in 3 bands right now: a wedding band, a touring party band, and a local metal band. I have a different workflow for each band. I have a different case for different guitars for each band. I learn songs a certain way, and it's the same way every time. It's just figuring out how to simplify and streamline your process so that you can spend more time having fun with the thing. I might have to learn like 20 new songs for a wedding, and even though it's a lot of work on the back end to learn these songs that I'm never going to play again because they're obscure covers of first dances that people want, but when I'm on that stage, because I did the work at home, I just have to focus on playing the song, connecting with everyone at the show, and having a great time with my band. So you got to continuously remind yourself why you're doing all this extra work that you didn't think you would have to do, but it allows you to have the fun that you wanted in the first place.
Those are 3 great pieces of advice, and I got to say that's something that we're always looking for, and we're always trying to get knowledge. So thank you so much for giving us your knowledge.
Absolutely.
That's that's one of the things that I always try to see if I can get people that educate us too, because a lot of musicians, they're amazing at what they do, but it's that education of what it takes to be a really good musician and become a touring musician that actually makes some money back. Because most of the time it's like they make even, or they lose money, right? Because they don't know like all these things that you're like talking about right now, which is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the bands that are out there really grinding the tour thing, they start regionally and then they start traveling more, and then they start doing fly dates or maybe even buy-ons. It's such a huge investment up front, and you're probably going to lose money on your first couple of tours. And even though I haven't done that level of touring, I've done travel and gigs of that level, where the finance side of things, the physical size of the show and the venue and the crowds are at that level. And even though it's a bit different doing the cover band side of things versus the original music, I'm still playing those levels of shows. So I've seen it from both perspectives and know how difficult it can be, because there might have been a weekend a couple years ago where the band is like, hey, we got 2 shows in Boston. Okay, cool. It's going to take us 5 hours to get there with traffic. We have to book our own hotel because our agent's not covering it, and neither is the venue. So we pay for that up front. And then we go to the show, play, we stay at the hotel, then we play a second show, break down, then drive all the way back home. So even though we were making X amount, for that weekend, what does that actually break down to when you figure the fact that I've been out of my house for 50 hours it equates to $2 an hour. Did I really make any money on that?
Yeah.
I just added, 500 miles on my car, the wear and tear, tolls, food, gas, the hotel that we needed in the first place. Maybe someone's base died and we needed new batteries for that, so that's $10 in batteries. Someone broke a string, so we had to go get more. All those expenses add up so fast. And if you don't have the finance side of things really dialed in, which luckily I spent a lot of time studying finance, both in the degree and post Berkeley. So it's very important, I guess, if there's a fourth thing, to just track every penny in and out that you have, figure out what can be a business write-off, figure out if you're going to structure your band as an LLC or a corporation or anything like that. I mean, I could spend 4 hours just talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
What's better, though, an LLC or a corporation?
So it depends on the size and the scale of what you do. Most things don't qualify for a corporation until they make a certain amount of money or have a certain amount of people working for it. An LLC is something you can always do as a sole proprietor, which is technically what you are if you make any 1099 income, which is all I make these days. I don't have W-2s or say a boss, so to speak. Everything I do is contracted for my own business. So every penny I make gets 1099 at the end of the year. And for those of you who may not know what that is, W-2 is what you get from your regular full-time job. So if you work for Nestle or Coca-Cola, like that's the piece of paper you get that you give to H&R Block at the end of the year. But for those of us who work for ourselves, or maybe do a lot of like blue collar stuff or manual labor or anything where it's one-off things like gigs or events, a 1099 is the type of form that you get at the end of the year, where you haven't been paying taxes on that most likely the whole year. So at the end of the year, you owe a lot of your income back, upwards of 30% in most cases. So for me, because everything's just myself, I'm the only person working for my company, my LLC, that's all I qualify for. Now, if I was making, I forget the exact cutoff, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in S-Corp you have to make somewhere between 60 to 100,000 gross in order to qualify for that. And then technically you're responsible for like quarterly taxes. You have to keep track of meetings and hours and stuff like that. You have to do business things as a corporation, but you can then separate yourself and become an employee of your own corporation. So it's a little bit difficult to explain, but a corporation is something that's on a larger scale, and maybe you have other people that you work with, and you can isolate business expenses and personal expenses very differently. Like the business can physically own assets, and then they don't count as yours, they're the businesses. So that's something where I would talk to a financial advisor about, look into some finance resources, or maybe take a course on, business structures and stuff like that. But I'm an LLC because it's just me doing things on my own. And for the scale that what I do it on, it's just an LLC. So everything comes through my company first, but it's still tied to me because I'm the only person in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We're looking into establishing that for ourselves between the podcast and the band itself. So there's a lot of like factors to look into, and expenses and whatnot. So. But we're about an hour or so into the show. I would like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that's currently watching, if you're still watching and or listening, to take this just chance as a reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're enjoying the show and you want to catch some more future shows that we have coming up. And also follow us on Twitch and other socials for highlights and additional information that you may have not heard earlier from our show if you missed it. And, follow Zack and Quantum for all their products that they're going to be presenting soon, which is some new concepts that you guys are developing this coming year going into NAMM, right? You're going to be showcasing those in NAMM. So let's highlight that real quick and talk about some of the new stuff that's coming to Quantum.
Ooh, NAMM 2026 is going to be the best one. Yeah, I just have such a good feeling about this because this is the first year that we not only have a double booth. So if you've ever been to NAMM, there's like a set amount of space that you can purchase or rent out, I guess, because we're not actually buying it. And you start with whatever the basic dimensions is. 10 by 10 just comes off the top of my head. It's probably smaller than that. But this year we have so much product that we need a double booth. So we get twice the amount of space to present in. It's all going to be filled with Quantum stuff. And about half of it is brand new, as Luna was just saying. So the biggest highlight I'm going to say probably the biggest highlight for us is what's called our Q series of gig bags. So Q series, the Q kind of stands for quantum, but we didn't want to call a Quantum Industries product the Quantum series because it just gets confusing and then there's too much repetition. So we call it the Q series, and its goal is to be the highest level gig bag that you can get on the market without going like fully custom or whatever. The theory and practice behind it is we want a gig bag that you feel so comfortable bringing on a plane that if it gets checked as a gig bag, you don't have to worry about it because it has the amount of protection, durability, and features that you would need in a flight case. And it can be carried on, it can be a personal item, it can be put in the overhead bin, or you can check it. And there's not many gig bags out there where people would be like, yeah, go throw it under the hull of the plane. I'm sure it'll be fine with everyone else's suitcases. That's just not the case for probably 99% of guitar bags on the market. When we think of gig bags, we think of the really flimsy things that are really just glorified dust covers or have minimal protection. So when it's bouncing around your car on the way to your guitar lesson, it's not going to get completely destroyed. So the Q series takes things a step further. It's the thickest amount of padding that we can reasonably add without making the bag itself too heavy or cumbersome on the shoulders. Super thick padded premium shoulder straps so that the weight distribution feels good and it's super comfortable, like a real premium high level multi-$100 backpack. And we have enough storage in there that you can fit all of your gig, tour, or session essentials inside of it and feel really good about having something that also looks super sleek. So the Q series is a totally different aesthetic from the cases that, you know, I showed you earlier, like the Aristides Hatchiman series. The Q series is just the next level. We want it to be the pinnacle, be all, end all. We currently have one product in that lineup that's been available, and it was the world's first double headless guitar case. Nothing existed on the market that could fit two headless guitars. Now, headless guitars are still rather niche compared to full-size guitars, but the amount of companies that just make them, like Strandberg being the biggest one, there were tons of companies in the 80s that were doing headless guitars like Steinberger, and then you have companies today like Kiesel and Aristides and Cerberus, like all these brands that are making headless guitars because people like how lightweight, ergonomic, and economical they are. So there is nothing out there to fit more than one in, but you can buy a double guitar case any day of the week. So why can't we have that for headless guitars? So we launched the first one last year, and within 2 weeks we sold out of all like 250 pieces. Wow. Right off the bat, and we were like, okay, there's clearly demand for it. So we did another batch later this year. I think we have 10 pieces left of that, and NAMM is next week. So we're like, okay, case is doing great. We've had 0 complaints to my knowledge so far. Perfect. And we're like 500 cases in so far. As a business, that's such a great feeling when you have a product that's the first of its lineup come out to, you know, no one's saying, hey, this isn't working. It's just, what else can you add to it, if anything? You know, like, this is great as it is. Can you make it for full-size guitars? So in a perfect world, we have at least that sample coming to the show. Worst case, we're planning on having that available beginning, end of spring. So that'll be the Q series full double electric guitar, so you can fit 6, 7, 8 strings in that. And then we'll also have single versions for headless guitars, electric guitars, and bass guitars. So that's the main thing that we're excited to present this year at NAMM. And then we also have 2 lower cost, more budget friendly, but still premium options, such as guitar sleeves and guitar cases that have maybe a little bit less in terms of features, or maybe, you know, different paddings or different foam layouts. And the idea is that there's a perfect guitar case out there for everyone, and we want to give you the options. So it starts with, you know, one line of cases that'll just be really nice sleeves that are still padded around like the $80 mark, and then go up to like the $200+ mark with these premium grade flight bags. So I'd say those are the main core items that we're announcing. And then we have 2 very long-awaited products that we've been hyping up for the past couple months.
Ooh, exclusive, guys!
Exclusive drop here. So our long-awaited dual compact guitar vault, which is just a 2 version of our flagship triple. The final sample came out 99.99% perfect. So we're going to bring it to the show because that's what it's going to look like when you get it. And we couldn't be happier with that because everything from the spacing to the way it rolls to the way it performs, it's literally if you just took our current triple case and just cut 33% of it off. It's
beautiful.
Something that we've had in high demand because everyone needs at least 2 guitars. Not everyone needs 3. The option for 3 is great, but everyone needs at least 2. You need a main and a backup, or maybe a main tuning and an alternate tuning. I've had one on order myself for like 2 years now when we first announced that we were going to make it. So I'm excited for that personally because for my wedding band I only need 2 guitars, so I can't wait to have that come out. So we're super excited for that because it's going to be the lightest, smallest, most durable double case that still fits the same dimensions of guitars that most other cases were. Again, because we don't have the extra dead air or unnecessary padding. People always say like, well, how come you don't have more padding on the side? And I'm like, well, because we tested it and we don't need extra because the guitars are already in place. We don't need to make the walls 6 inches thick because the guitar physically can't get there. So why do we want to make the cases heavier?
Trust the
charge
process.
you more for more of them. Exactly. So we just keep chopping away until we find the least amount of everything we need before it starts, compromising quality. So it's going to be in our eyes the best double guitar vault, that's possible. And then to kind of piggyback off of that, we have one of the world's first hard cases for guitar modelers coming out, specifically like the Quad Cortex or the FM3, the Kemper Player, the Nano Cortex, the HX Stomp, and you can also fit an expression pedal and your cables in it, and it'll have a hard laptop section on the top so that it's an all-in-one, like you can use this as your everyday carry-on luggage or just going to gigs because it can fit almost everything that's not your guitar inside of it. And it's something that we have a ton of pre-orders for. We have a lot of interest in it, and we finally got this sample on Friday so we can bring that to the show and give everyone something excited, something that's exciting to look forward to, so to speak. We have something for your pedals, something for your guitars that's a professional level, and then 4 different grades of guitar bags from everyday use to pro touring on flights. So we're super excited to have that out. And then just in general, all of our cases across the board have been upgraded. We have a new TSA lock on everything that's even more flush to the case. We have a new rivet and corner design. We have a different foam design for everything. We have a new weather tight strip that's even better than the one we had previously. And it's just all these little things. Like I was saying before, the reason why we do everything in small batches is so we can make improvements every 6 to 12 months instead of once every 3 to 5 years like most brands. So we're very excited for this year because we have so much to offer, and it's all so consistent because we're so streamlined and dialed in at this point that we're just making everything even better than it was before, and we're very excited to showcase everything on this upcoming week.
That's awesome. Are you going to be doing any videos or anything while you're there so that people could check out what's
like
going on?
Like on your YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah, depending on the year, we'll have different, creators and magazines or media come up to the booth and do, exclusives for us. We'll be posting a ton of pictures on the Instagram page at Quantum Industries Inc. that you'll be able to find. And of course, I post all the day on my personal Instagram, Zack Seif Music. So I'll be posting a ton of stuff on there. And then by the time NAMM is over and everything is available for retail, the team back home will be shooting proper videos and doing proper marketing for everything. So by ideally no later than the end of spring, beginning of summer, we not only have everything available for purchase, but also videos, photos, and fleshed out links for everything as well. So,
nice.
Just in case there's anything at NAMM where like a last minute detail pops up and we're like, we have to change that because this is so much better. We're not making all this stuff before the things are actually there. So go to NAMM, present everything, get all the last minute feedback, changes, little notes for the factory. By the time everything's out, you'll have plenty of videos and resources to check out.
So my background outside of music and the podcasts, I do a lot of product compliance and testing for product. I'm curious on if you know the answer to this. the types of tests that is being conducted so that you can confirm that these are actually, the claims that you're stating is true, and it's passing, the rigorous testing that you're saying that it's going through, that you can confidently be like, I have documentation to prove that this is lasting,
Yeah.
So do you?
That's a fantastic question, Luda. I'm actually glad you brought that up. We have a whole highlight reel on Instagram that shows you every step of the testing process, and we post regular updates in our stories every time we visit the factory. So if you look on our Instagram, you can see the initial kind of tests that we put the first generation products through, and everything has been built off of that platform. So we've done drop tests, so the handles can take, I believe up to like 100 times their weight or whatnot. You can see it on the machine. Drop tests, we loaded it up with all Jackal's custom Aristides guitars, and we pushed it down a flight of stairs.
Oh, man.
If you watched it roll, I almost cried watching it, because I'm like, if there's the one chance that something is not right, like, that's $12,000 in guitars right there.
Yeah.
Brought the case back up, opened it, and everything was still perfectly in tune and in place. And I'm like, that could have gone really well, So we have that. And then we personally fly with everything too before we release it. So like all these sample cases, they're flying with and checking in physically from Hong Kong to fly all the way over to Anaheim. So we do the testing ourselves for a lot of this stuff. So
in-house.
If that thing comes off the plane and it's totally busted, okay, that gives us all the notes we need to know that it's not going to work. But again, we've done all the testing in the factory using multiples of what it's capable of standing up with. We have the factory, there's videos of them beating the corners with hammers and rivets not falling out on these new cases. We have our boss jumping up and down to try and crack the top of the case, and it's just not budging. But then we also are able to show you where all the user replaceable components are. Oh, that's one big thing that I totally left out a couple minutes ago. This whole new generation of cases, almost every integral part is now user replaceable. Most cases aren't user replaceable, but you have within 60 seconds, you can get into and unscrew the locks. You can get to the wheels, you can get to the handles, you can get to everything. And the bungee cords to keep the guitars in are self-repairing. We have a video of that as well, where you just cut the frayed end by loosening the hook.
Yeah.
You cut the part that frayed off, screw it back in, and it's totally fine.
Wow.
But we also have replacement parts on our website, which again, you don't have to place a special order or be like, hey, where can I find this? We have all that just on the website ready for you to go, and we send out less than one replacement part a month.
That's incredible.
So I think that really speaks to what we do. We've had maybe, a questionable batch here or there where maybe one or two cases aren't performing well. But again, that's just manufacturing. Not everything is going to be perfect, and it's physically impossible for everything to be perfect. I mean, you see custom shop guitars coming out with giant, neck pockets and, cosmetic cracks and faulty electronics. Like, not everything can be perfect, but we will do our best to make sure that that's remedied and give you several solutions that we can do to make sure that you get the case that you ordered and that it's working the way that it's supposed to. So yeah, all the testing, you can see that, we post regular updates. And again, the three main people working here are physically using these products throughout the year, and we're keeping note of everything. So whenever I get a brand new case, the first thing I do is I set up my video camera and just document all my initial thoughts. Is all the foam sticking correctly? Did something not settle correctly in transit? Is the box looking a little rougher than it should, even though I know the case is okay? Can we make the box look a little nicer? Like, what happened there? Or, hey, why don't we have, a double layer of foam where, your knife is supposed to be when you go to open the box, just so people don't scratch it? Like, just all those little things that no one thinks about because they're not about the product themselves. I'm super on top of all that.
Sounds like you guys thought about everything, all the little things.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. Again, we weren't finding the cases that we needed, so the only solution was to start making them ourselves.
Right.
And that's
want it done right, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you just kind of hope that other people see that and they're like, oh yeah, this does solve the problems that case A and case B have, so I'm just gonna grab a quantum next time.
Yeah, I love the concept. I love the design. It's sleek. It's clean. It has a futuristic element to it.
Yeah.
And I love where it's going, and I'm excited to see like what's coming for drummers too, because I'm a drummer, so I have to let my drummer people know and be like, hey, look, like you got to keep an eye on this company because this company has a lot going on, and I'm excited to see what's to come for Quantum.
So what's your
Definitely,
goal
yeah.
for 2026, Zach? Because I know you have your own thing going on too. After you come from Lamb, do you have shows lined up for this year?
Yeah, that's a great question, Yen. So post NAMM, February is a bit quiet. Typically for most of what I do, I kind of briefly explained before, I have like 3 main bands that I'm in, which sounds like a lot, but they all kind of have their own season and appeal. So there's a little bit of overlap where I do have to sub out sometimes, but like that's just the nature of it. My main band is a wedding band, so we do wedding and corporate events, mostly all in New Jersey. Less than 10% is going to be like PA or New York, and if someone really wants us to travel, we just got an inquiry for Canada, and the numbers look like they could work, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed because I'm dying to play a show somewhere that's not the tri-state area,
Yeah.
or even the East Coast in general. So that's the bulk of what I do. I say we do about 30 weddings and corporate events a year. I love doing those. The big money comes from weddings and private events. I'm sure that's not a huge surprise to most people, but that's where the money is. Unless you're doing like the stadium and amphitheater tours, it's a great way to make a living as a musician. So peak wedding season here in Jersey right now is roughly April through June, and then late August through early November, because not a lot of people are like, when it's real peak summer around here. I mean, you guys both know, being in from Jersey or from New York, summers are so hot that a wedding in 100-degree weather just isn't great for most people, but everyone's on vacation too, so you don't want to book something like mid-July and then risk half your family or friends being on vacation or away or on break or holiday.
Right.
So that's like peak wedding season, is mostly like spring, early summer, and then late summer into fall. And then my touring party band, Crash the Party. We used to be an agency band, so we used to have an agent that we worked with and a whole team and everything like that. We're fully independent now, which is fantastic. It gives us more flexibility and freedom to just play the places we want to. Because we used to play from Vermont and Boston all the way down to Maryland and DC, and like, for as much fun as that is for the first 3 years, by the time you're on year 3, 4, 5, you're getting tired of playing Boston for the same amount that you play Point Pleasant for. It's like, well, why am I driving all the way to Boston where I can go 50 minutes, make the same amount of money, and be in my own bed?
Yeah.
So we kind of condensed our scope to really just New Jersey, and there's one venue in Maryland that we love, and they take care of us so much that we're like, all right, we'll keep on playing there because they respect us as a band. You're right, we have very, very few exceptions.
Right. Yeah.
But again, so I'm really excited to play with them because we took a hiatus in 2024. Last year we did 2 one-off shows, technically 3 one-off shows, just to dip our toes in because everyone was home again, and we just wanted to see if the demand was still there. And now we have like 12 shows this year, and that's still growing, so hopefully we get to double that for next year. And then on the side, for all my metalheads out there, I have a local hard rock metal cover band.
Ooh.
Which most people are probably like, so like, where do you play? Because most people just want to hear like, Pink Pony Club and Dua Lipa, and like, sure, I love playing those songs too, but if I can play Freak on a Leash and break stuff, like, I'd much rather do that.
I'll go see you.
So,
we'll go see
that'd
you
be
for your
fun.
metal
right.
band.
I'll send you guys the schedule. It's awesome. So we mostly just play Jersey right now because that's where we're all based out of, and it's all guys from the touring agency scene that I met in other bands before I joined the band that I'm in right now. And again, we were doing the whole Boston to DC thing, doing the pop music, playing all the clubs and casinos. And we were like, well, if we're going to get back and do a band again, it's just going to be the stuff we want. So our set list is all mostly 90s and 2000s hard rock and metal.
Ooh.
And the places we play all say, you guys sound great. And I like to think that's because we did it on such a high professional level for years. We brought all that with us. So we have the right sound system. We're on IEMs. We have click tracks that we play with. So everything's super tight and super controlled. We know how to perform. So even though we're playing smaller venues, we're still able to make almost the same amount. And we get to do it on our terms. Everything's local, so all of our friends and family can see us because they don't have to go all the way to Ocean City, Maryland to go see us.
Right.
And because it's the music we want, we can just constantly add new stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
You know, so
fun.
if we want to do Tool or Slipknot, like we can, because it's our band. We can play that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
So right now I think I have about 50 shows for this year. The goal is to try to hit like 75, 80 if possible. Then all the new product lineups with Quantum and whatnot, you know, that's what I do during the day on top of like social media stuff. I teach a couple private lessons on guitar, drums, and piano.
Hey.
So there's a little bit of everything that
You're
I
a
do.
busy
because-
man, Zach.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want every day to be the same. It
Yeah.
got really monotonous doing that for so, you know, I taught at a performing arts school for 10 years, and the past 2 years leading up to me leaving, it just felt very repetitive and mundane, and there was a decline in interest, you know, from students not practicing and parents not being involved enough, and just the whole not being able to make my schedule flexible, which as a musician, I can get a call right now to go play Atlantic City at 6 p.m., you know, but if you have too rigid of a schedule, you can't accommodate that and you miss out on those opportunities. So for me, being able to become self-dependent with all that at the end of last year was a huge change for me, and that's allowed me to continue to just do the things that I want, but it took such a long time to get there, you know.
It's one of the reasons why you work for yourself. You run your own business, and then you make your own schedules. You know.
No, that's exactly
Yeah.
it, you know. So I do all this quantum stuff during the day, the social media stuff during the day, and then if I have a lesson that night, I can go teach that. Or you know, some days I'm like done by 3 p.m., which is fantastic. Some days I'm doing 12-hour things because there's just so much to do, and you know. But the goal was to be completely open for gigs. So like from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, nothing set in stone unless it's a gig, so that I can just fully be immersed in that space, not feel like I'm rushing from a job and sitting in traffic and
Yeah.
everything. I just have to focus on the show.
Well, I'm excited to see everything you're going to be doing for 2026. Sounds like you're going to be a very busy man, Zach. And it's all
Thank you.
amazing things, you know? And
Yeah.
NAMM is going to be next week, right? From the 23rd?
It's the 20.
Yeah.
It's the 22nd to
This
the
coming weekend, I
24th,
believe. Yeah.
if I have the numbers correct. Yeah, it's this coming Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Uh-huh.
NAMM used to be 4 days. It always used to include the Sunday, but the past 2 or 3 years, it's only been 3 exhibition days. They technically have events all week, potentially starting tomorrow or Tuesday, I think. That's like pre-NAMM things that you can sign up for if you're like really involved in the industry. But the exhibition where everyone releases their new products, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Quantum's going to be at booths 4331 and 4332. Hall D, it's the main guitar hall where all your favorite brands and companies are usually located. So, you know, definitely stop by the booth if you're in the area. You can check out all this new stuff that I'm going to be seeing for the first time when I'm flying on Wednesday, all the new bags, the new cases that we were talking about, the vaults, and you can just come and check everything out. And if you have ideas, you know, the whole core team is going to be there. So we're open to, you know, discuss ideas that you may have. You can bring your guitars and put them in the cases and roll them around and check them out, you know, and we can talk shop.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I want to know what currently guitars you're running right now. Like, what are you playing? What's your go-tos?
Great
Yeah.
question. So
Oh, yeah, because they're really nice guitars. Seen some of the videos.
my mains are my Music Man Majesties.
The John
I cannot
Petrucci?
get enough
They're
of these
beautiful.
guys. Yeah, John's a massive inspiration to me. I got to meet him a couple years ago, and we had a really great conversation. He's such a humble guy. So I've been rocking the Petrucci guitars since 2016, so it's been 10 years that I've been playing these things.
Is that a 6?
This is a 6, yeah. So this is a Majesty in Fuchsia Sparkle. I don't know how well the sparkles are coming across on video.
Yeah, it looks
yeah,
good.
it looks beautiful.
But I absolutely love this guitar. I recently got this one. It's a color that I've wanted for a while, and there's just something about sparkle finishes that I love. So pretty much every guitar I play is your typical 25.5-inch scale length. You know, medium to high output pickups for what I do. Almost everything has a floating tremolo because I do a lot of lead playing and whatnot. Locking tuners, it's got to be lightweight, it's got to be comfortable. And what I like about these guitars is the way they sit is just super comfortable. I don't feel like I have to reach all the way out here like I'm playing a bass or anything. Everything's super easy to grab. And all of the knobs, or the controls, if I move this over here,
you can access them by just swiping your hand. You don't have to like reach out of your way to grab a different setting or push one of your pots up or down or change pickups or anything like that. So I like the guitar because on stage it's super ergonomic. If I need to swap sounds really quick, I can just do that. And all these guitars have a built-in acoustic preamp as well through the piezo saddles and the bridge. So it's an electric and an acoustic guitar all in one. So for weddings and cover band stuff, this is indispensable because within half a second, I go from acoustic to electric, and then I switch everything through my fractal and my pedal setup. So I currently own 3 of these, which is probably more than anyone needs. But I like having a main and a backup for my party band and my wedding band.
Hey, why not?
And then I have one in a different tuning for the metal band. And then I also have a 7-string that
now you're talking.
it sees quite a bit of action these days. It's in my other case here. So it's still Petrucci, but it's the JP lineup. So it's a JP15 7-string. This is a new model from 2024. This is Amber Waves quilt. So it's a quilt finish.
Oh, beautiful.
Same idea as the Majesty, but it's a bolt-on neck, kind of like a Strat would be, instead of being neck through with the Majesty. 7 strings, DiMarzio pickups, same electronics and switches and everything as the last guitar. Beautiful, roasted maple neck on here. Everything's got locking tuners. So all my equipment, I like to keep as similar as possible so that it functions the same. It's comfortable and familiar on stage. If I got to swap guitars or tunings or anything, whatever I pick up, I know is going to do what I need it to, because I have a job on stage and I can't let my tools get in the way.
Yeah.
So I get the best that I can so that I can do the best job possible.
Those are really nice guitars.
Those are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you've been playing since you were 11, right? You're like an incredible guitarist.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been playing guitar since I was 11, so it kind of just started on a whim. I can't really remember why I wanted to play guitar. Guitar Hero was massive, in the early to mid 2000s. So one year, my brother and I got Guitar Hero for Christmas, and I just couldn't put the damn thing down. I'm like playing guitar and like slashes on the TV, and I'm playing all these songs, and that's when everything really just kind of clicked for me. And I'm like, I think I could do that. You know how cool that would be if I could learn how to actually do this, but not in a video game.
And now he plays like Petrucci solos, and it's crazy.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy. So one year I was like, Mom, I really want to try guitar, and we split like $100 acoustic guitar. I put in half, she put in half, and she's like, okay, but if I'm paying for lessons, you're going to practice. I don't think she ever had to tell me once to practice. In almost 20 years I've been playing guitar, it's something that as soon as I started playing it, and once you get past the basics and you can start kind of learning songs on your own, like when I found out what like guitar tabs were, I was like, this is it. I'm learning all the theory and the concepts in my lessons. I'm teaching myself songs. And then I started teaching lessons once I got out of high school, and it's just been an ever evolving process from there, where at this point, I'm still trying to learn new things all the time and get into more genres and styles of music, especially with the wedding band. Any given night we could have 5 country songs, a hard rock song, a ton of pop songs, Motown, funk, blues, R&B, and I gotta be able to play all that on the guitar. So if you don't have the skill set and the knowledge to do that and do it correctly, something's going to be off on stage. It's going to either throw off the band, or the audience isn't going to connect because they're like, something's not working here.
Right.
So I spent a lot of time doing sound design too. For any of my guitar players out there, I'm using the fractal audio stuff, which is basically this giant black box of magic that can give you any sound possible, to the point where it doesn't even have to sound like a guitar anymore. So I have more like synthesizer style sounds that I can do on pop songs and EDM songs, where I'm playing the guitar, but it sounds like just another sound or an effect in the speakers, and it makes things sound massive, because we'll have keyboards or a backing track play like the synth part, but then I'm adding a heavier version of that on top, and live it translates so well. So I love sound design and coming up with my own parts for things, to the point where if we're playing a mashup in one of my bands that's like 10 minutes long and it's just EDM pop stuff, I'm having a blast because I'm on a down-tuned 7-string chugging, with like a phaser and reverb on, and it sounds like a synthesizer, but I'm really just playing a metal part, It's so much fun.
So what are your 5 top favorite guitarists of all time? I gotta ask you that.
5 favorite guitarists of all time. Jeez, you should have warned me about this ahead of time. Number 1 is definitely John Petrucci.
Yes.
No surprise, I have 4 of his signature guitars, his amp. I have things signed by him. My screensaver is the time I met him.
What?
Yeah, Dream Theater was the band that made me take music seriously, because I'm like, if that level of musicianship is possible, I want to figure out how to get there. And I still have a ways to go. I can't do it as effortlessly as they can, but it's every day when I wake up and I sit down and I pick up the guitar. That's one of the main still driving motivating factors almost 2 decades later as to the level that I hope to achieve. So John Petrucci is my number 1. Number 2, and because I studied a lot of jazz back in the day, would probably be Pat Metheny. He's my favorite jazz fusion guitar player. He does things on the guitar that aren't things that you would normally hear. He has a lot of what we call non-functional harmonies, so your ear wants to hear something but he goes somewhere else, and it just takes you on this journey where you don't feel like you're listening to like, you know, a 40s jazz band where, like, you know, the vinyl is pretty low quality and maybe it's a little bit, you know, not the easiest thing in the world to listen to, but it's crisp, it's all guitar driven. And he was one of the first guys back in the 70s and 80s to use like guitar synths and Roland equipment and stuff on guitars. So he makes his guitar sounds like different instruments, and so that's really inspiring for me too. So a lot of my professional training in high school and college was jazz based. So I'd say Pat Metheny is probably my second biggest influence. Number 3 is going to be a tie for the 3 guitar players in Periphery. I'm a huge progressive metal and gent fan, and I've gotten to meet some of them in person. I spoke to Misha at NAMM last year. I met Jake in person, and when he still had his prototype Ibanez guitar with 27 frets, so I got to play the prototype of that at a gear show one year. Periphery was the band that got me into 7-strings, and in high school all I wanted to do was be in like a prog metal gent band, like so bad, you know, like all that metalcore kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the stuff that I wrote early on, I don't do any original music right now, but a lot of the stuff that I used to write was very inspirational, or the inspiration came from them because they took influences from other areas, other forms of art, and that got me into the sound design. So I remember reading an article in Guitar World where after Periphery 2 came out, Misha was talking about how Final Fantasy, the video game series, was influencing his music, and I'm like, bro, I love Final Fantasy.
What?
And then I
That's
started
so
listening to
cool.
like the string parts, and I'm like, I feel like I'm playing Final Fantasy, but I'm listening to a metal record. And he got me thinking about how to write in layers and think of it more from like an orchestra point of view. So now when I have all these pop songs to learn, I'm not just playing the parts that the keyboard's already playing, because that's already being done. But if I change the voicing and the texture, now I'm adding something and it sounds massive. Even I could be playing 2 notes, but in context with everything else, it sounds like I'm playing 10 or something. So those guys would probably come in number 3 for me.
Amazing.
Geez, number 4.
Getting harder.
This is getting harder, man.
Don't overthink it. That's what I always say.
So the whole reason I picked up guitar in the first place, like I told you, was Guitar Hero, and it was mostly Slash and Guns N' Roses. So I'd have to put Slash up there
Good one,
as
classic.
the inspiration for playing guitar. I don't think I sound or play like Slash in the slightest. I'm not the world's biggest Les Paul fan. I find them to be very heavy and bulky and not the most ergonomic guitars. But something about seeing him with the hair, the top hat, and the gold top Les Paul slung though, it's like the most insane
Badass.
thing ever. Badass, thank you. Wasn't sure if I could swear. The
Yes, you
most
can.
badass image ever
Fuck yeah.
was seeing him on that Guitar Hero. You get to fight him as a boss battle, getting super nerdy. So Guns N' Roses was
it's
the
okay.
reason why I wanted to play guitar in the first place. My dad had an original copy of Appetite for Destruction when it came out on CD, and I wore that thing out to the point where my parents had to get me my own copy of you know, the Guns N' Roses CDs. So Slash is definitely up there because that's the reason I wanted to try guitar in the first place. So he has to have an honorable mention out there for sure.
Have
And
to.
then I think 5th would not to be like a cop-out answer, but just pretty much any 2000s metal band in general, because that's the sound that I love. So we're talking Linkin Park, we're talking Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, all of those bands, just anything that's hard rock, what people call butt rock, or new metal, or hardcore, metalcore, emo core adjacent. Just that entire sound and the way that they were coming up with their parts and sounds. Some of it's super technical, riffy. Some of it's just power chords. But it all works, and it's so impactful, especially in Linkin Park. Everything they do is so minimalistic. It's drum loops, it's bass just playing eighth notes, it's guitars playing just power chords and octaves, but together it sounds huge.
Yes.
It's massive. There's 6 people in that band, but you could tell me that there's probably 30 people, and of course, sure, that has to do with layers and recording techniques and stuff, but live it still sounds like that. And I take a lot of inspiration from that because it's all guitar-based music. So anytime I listen to something and I hear the guitar at the forefront, that's got my attention. It's going to leave some sort of impact or impression on me, and that's how I approach my playing.
So Zach, I gotta ask you, you said you used to write your own music. How come you are not still working on some original stuff? Because, you could definitely do it.
Sure, that's a fantastic question. A lot of it really just came down to there's 24 hours in a day, and there's so many incredible opportunities that I currently have to cut something out that I currently do to spend the time bringing that music back to life and creating it just doesn't work right now or make sense right now. And it's also not what I wake up every day thinking about doing anymore. There was a big part in time from maybe sophomore year of high school to the end of Berkeley where I still had a lot of extra time or free time because it was school and working full time plus relationships and friendships and stuff like that. But now with everything I do, I'm so happy with where I'm at, and I'm so engaged with what I do. I might have an idea every now that I'll just throw up a little drum loop and record it over, and I'll make it a background track in like a gig vlog that I do on YouTube. So I still create and record music, but for me, the joy and the passion comes from the live performance side of things. So I'd rather spend 2 hours a day working on repertoire for my upcoming wedding so that when I get on stage, I can just be immersed in the performance side of things. So that's where that kind of sits. I have a couple EPs and singles out that are on like Spotify and Bandcamp, but I don't really push it at all because it's not what my current focus and passion lies in. But on this hard drive right here, I probably have like 2 or 3 albums worth of stuff that's just kind of sitting there, and if it stays there, cool, I might revisit it and again use it as background music on YouTube. But at the current moment, it's not the main focus for what I do, and I don't have a lot of motivation or inspiration to do the original music right now. But what I can do is I can take all that creativity and put it into the bands I'm in, so that when I'm on stage, I'm playing parts that I'm happy with, because a lot of it is stuff I come up with. For like Crash the Party in particular, we run our show like a DJ would. So our set list looks like there's only 12 songs on it, but it's 3 hours worth of music because it's all mashups and flawless transitions and interpolations and stuff like that. So there may be a mashup where we're doing stuff that's like Pitbull, Usher, Neo, that kind of stuff.
You
where
make
there's
it
no
your
guitar.
own, right? And make it more
I
flashy.
make it my own, and that's the creativity that I get to interject in that, because when I'm on stage, I'm still playing something I wrote. So that's where the originals and creativity side of things comes into. And like I was talking about before with the sound design, when I'm making my different guitar sounds, my patches, my presets and all that, and all my different pedal sounds, that's as much of a creative outlet for me as coming up with the parts is, because if I want it to sound a certain way, I can manipulate that in real time. And then when I'm on stage, like hitting that new chord or hitting that new effect change is just so satisfying and fulfilling to me that I get the joy that creating music from scratch would, because I get to actually do this with a band already. So I still get to have my personal touch and input on that. It's just different from writing music for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. And yeah, you have a full schedule, so it's definitely taxing, and it's also an adventure, because that's everything that you're doing is like experiences that bring you to where you feel passionate about. And that's really the point that I guess you're making, is like, I'm passionate about what I'm doing, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, and it works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you absolutely nailed it right there. I'm very aware of how my time is spent every day, I keep several calendars and whiteboards and day-to-day journals going at once to keep track of all that, because like you said, yeah, it is a full schedule. So when people are like, what do you do for a living? I mean,
Too much.
musician. Too much.
Like a scroll
Like
rolls
musician's
down.
a cool general term, but I think creative is a better term. Like if I had a job title, it's I run my own multimedia company is the best way to think about it, because there could be a day where all I do is play guitar for 8 hours and I get paid for that, and I absolutely love it. There are some days where it's just 12 hours of shooting and editing video, and I love it. There will be a day where all I have to do is drive to Boston and then set up for a show the next day. I love that, because the next day it's like, hey, cool, I'm gonna go play a show in Boston in front of 1,000 people with my best friends. Like, this is great. So you're right. I get to do only what I want to, and there are things that I enjoy. I could sure stay up another hour or two every night and like continue working on the original music, but the fact that I actually have time for a little bit of break from music makes coming back to it the next day that much better. I can't tell you how easy it is to get burnt out doing this, and I've been burnt out several times. To, you know, like I said, I had to leave my teaching job because I was so burnt out from teaching 25 to 30 students a week on top of all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So now that I have, you know, those 4 or 5 hours every day back, I get to actually relax and take care of myself and work out more and eat better and socialize with friends more. And I'm more refreshed every day to do the quantum stuff, to do the cover band stuff, to do the video editing, because I'm not doing 12-hour days anymore. You know, you got to do that for a while if you want to grind to where you want to get. And you know, there's definitely pros and cons to that whole like grind mindset. Like, it's healthy for a while if there's a certain goal you know how to get to, but it's also really easy to just burn completely out and give up and start from scratch again. So having been at that point several times in my life where I'm like, I'm so over all of this, I'm ready to sell everything and just stop, because I didn't. Now I'm at the point where I don't have to do the things that really drain me, and everything is more enjoyable because of that.
You have a really good balance of everything that you're doing too.
Absolutely. And I had to remind myself sometimes, like, hey, you know, you don't have any shows at all in January, but you can't be depressed about that because of all the other work that you still get to do. Because when prime tour season hits, I may not be able to make a video for 2, 3, 4 weeks. But if I backlog it all now and I just get super immersed in the social media side of things now, all of that is just in the back burner. It gets scheduled and it releases on its own. It's streamlining. I think the best theme that I can give you for this podcast is just how to streamline everything so that you can continue enjoying what you do and not feel like every day you wake up you have 30 things to do. Do 3 things this week, 3 things next week, and then you don't have to go back to those things at all. Instead of being like, well, I can do 2 hours of this, 2 hours of that, 2 hours of this, 2 hours of that. That's going to work for 2 days, and then you're going to be done because you're doing too many different things at once, and you're not able to put the time and focus and attention into each of them. So you're getting a half-assed product, and I can't do that. I'm the kind of person where if I sit down and I'm like, hey, I'm going to do a gear tour for this year, like a gear rundown video, I'm going to set up my space here to shoot the video. I'm going to shoot the entire thing. I'm going to edit the entire thing. And then if I'm done with that by the end of the day, then I'll start something else. But I don't like having 50 little things to do every day. I'd rather have like 2 or 3 big picture things, do them perfectly, and then I'm happy with the end result instead of just leaving everything open-ended until the last minute.
Sounds perfect, and you have your shit together. You're doing an amazing job. Everything you've spoken about today is like boom, boom, boom. And I gotta thank you for giving us this time and space. Because Zach, it's been a pleasure having you, and it's gonna be so fun to see the content that you come back with from NAMM.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, we have a lot of people who are planning on stopping by the booth. We have current artists, new perspectives. We have distributors and factories that are trying to check us out, and you know, friends who do press and media. So I'm very excited for that, you know, and I'm just hoping to take the next couple of days really easy, take care of that 6-hour flight to LAX, and then just enjoy the next couple of days, you know.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So we're about 5 minutes left of the show, and we have one final question to ask you, Zach. Do you want to give that question?
Oh, the 12 songs?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about this one. This one's going to be tough. If you didn't read beforehand, I hope you let them.
I sent the agreement form and all that stuff, had all the details in there. So if you missed it, this is on you, Zach.
All right. It's all good. I'll take responsibility if I missed anything.
So the last question that I ask everyone, and this is fun. It can be really easy or really hard. Like I always say, don't overthink it. Just go with it and just let us know what you feel. And so it's the 12 songs to the soundtrack of your life. That describes
Love questions
you.
like this. Oof.
Oh, and it describes you and like the inspiration. It could be the first song you learned on guitar. It could be the first song that you played live. It can be anything that really describes the soundtrack of your life, Zach. Go.
All right, we're gonna start with a massive guilty pleasure. The first time that I think I realized as like a human what music was, it's the Backstreet Boys. So Larger Than Life. That came out in 99 or 2000. That was the first time I kind of like figured out what music was, and there's probably home videos of me somewhere like singing along when I'm like 3 years old to the Backstreet Boys.
Aww.
So that started everything in terms of me just loving hearing music every time we're in the car or just at home on the stereo, you know, after school. So Larger Than Life by the Backstreet Boys. I finally got to see them in concert a couple years ago, and like 3-year-old me was so excited, and so was almost 30-year-old me. Like, it was such a cool full circle moment to be like, who knows where I would be now if I didn't discover music at such a young age with, you know, that group particularly. You know, it's funny, I'm a huge metalhead right now, but like the Backstreet Boys is what started everything, you know.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So that's gotta be number one. Number two is gonna be Dark Eternal Night by Dream Theater. That was the first song I heard from them, and that started the entire holy shit, you can make a guitar sound like that. I didn't know what a 7-string was or a drop tuning. I'm like, this guitar just sounds so cool. I want to do that. That's got to be number 2. 3, Welcome to the Jungle, Guns N' Roses. Again, probably wouldn't be playing guitar if that song wasn't in Guitar Hero. It's also, I think, just Appetite for Destruction's a flawless 10 out of 10 album. I have the logo tattooed on my arm, for crying out loud.
Whoa. Cool.
Song number 5 is probably Downfall of Us All by A Day to Remember.
From 4.
Song 4, Downfall of Us All, A Day to Remember. That was the band that helped me kind of gateway into heavier styles of music. Like, I had listened to like Linkin Park and Breaking Benjamin a little bit, but that Day to Remember record got me into metalcore and just screaming in general. And that's where all the fun guitar stuff is the metal side of things. So got to give that song a shout out. After that would probably be I Will Not Bow by Breaking Benjamin, or maybe Diary of Jane. I'm a massive Breaking Benjamin fan. I've seen them live like 8 times. They're my mom's favorite band too, so like we go every time they're playing somewhere within the tri-state area. Huge inspiration for me growing up was Breaking Benjamin, so I'm gonna give them that spot there. 6 is Have a Blast by Periphery, probably my favorite Periphery song. I love that it starts with a string trio, and then it gets into this like video game sound, and then it's just blast beat in your face. There's several guitar solos, there's breakdowns, there's screaming, there's all sorts of cool stuff. It was one of the first songs that I heard where I'm like, oh, you can do a lot of things in one song and it still sounds coherent. What am I on? 7? 7, I'm probably gonna have to go with Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park. I think that's probably my favorite Linkin Park song. I love how heavy and dark that song is. I feel the emotion behind Chester's lyrics and the way that Mike's rapping in the verses with like these real ambient textures, and then it gets super dark and heavy in the chorus and the bridge. So everything about it, I think, makes Linkin Park such a perfect band for anyone who wants to get into any style of music they've ever done.
So true.
8, I gotta go Bright Size Life by Pat Metheny. As I mentioned before, I studied jazz, you know, pretty much from the beginning, and that song in particular just blew my rock pop brain apart, where I'm like, that chord doesn't make sense there, but he makes it make sense, and like, that's not a fingering or a riff or a lick that I would play normally, so how is he doing that? What is the thought process behind it? And the answer is, well, you learn all the theory and then you forget all of it because your mind is just knows what it wants to do. So that song opened up my mind in a ton of ways. Let's see, number 9.
And I
Ooh, probably Move Along by the All American Rejects. When that second album came out, it was the first album that as a person I listened to from top to bottom without stopping. Like, I didn't just hear the singles, I listened to the entire thing top to bottom, and it was the first record that got me able to like sit down and actually enjoy an entire work of art from beginning to end. You know, and again, every song on the album was super digestible. Half of them all became singles, and they're still a big band today. So I gotta give Move Along by the All American Rejects that spot.
10.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Let's do CAFO by Animals as Leaders. I didn't know that a guitar could do those things until I saw a video of Tosin. This is what, 16 years ago. He's got this giant guitar. I'm like, guitars don't have 8 strings, but now they do. And he's playing it like a piano with both of his hands, and he's doing the thumping with the thumb on like the other songs that came out on the album after that. That music video just blew my mind. I found Animals about the same time as Periphery, and I'm sitting there going like, dude, I could never pull this off, but I know that this is achievable, so I'm gonna keep trying to get there. I still can't do that thing with my thumb because I'm not double jointed, but I try so hard. It just
yeah,
doesn't
we've
work.
seen them live with Dream Theater.
Yeah, on their tour.
The Sonic.
The Dream Sonic tour.
Yeah, Dream
Yes,
Sonic, yeah.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
was
did
fun.
you go to the one at Radio City?
At
Or
MSG.
not Radio City, MSG?
Madison.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there too. Such a good show.
Oh, you went there?
Yeah, because it was Animals, Devin Townsend, and Dream Theater.
Yes. We were right
Such
there in
a
the
good show.
5th row. We were in the
No,
front.
we're like second or third row in the
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we
because
were
they
right
moved
there.
they moved our seating because we
It's a funny story.
yeah I bought the tickets, and then the week beforehand they said that there was going to be some changes to the staging, right? So
Sure.
that they needed to take out some of those rows, and so they moved us, and then they split me and Yen, and they had me like towards like 5 rows back, and she was like 2 rows up towards the front.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Okay.
I'm actually with her. Like, we have to be together. So if
Yeah.
And
if
that's
this
how
seat
we
isn't
ended up-
taken, can I just sit here? She was like, yeah, but if someone comes, you're gonna have to move. I'm like, that's fine. No one came. We had
No.
we were like 2 or 3 rows right in front of
Amazing.
Devin, right there. It was crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah, every time Dream Theater's in around, my friend and I are always like, as close as we can get to front row without like taking out a mortgage, like we'll do it, which is great. So song number 10 now, I think we're on.
11.
11.
2 more.
Hooligans by Issues. So Issues isn't around anymore, but they were such a band that I loved listening to. I would see them all the time on Warped Tour. I loved how they were taking R&B and metal and putting it together. There's just something so refreshing about that. I love different styles of music, and I love blending genres together. Hooligans for the longest time was like my pump up song. So as I'm pulling into a venue and there's 3 minutes left on my drive, I pull that up on Spotify, and that just always got me in the zone, like super ready to go. That was my pump up song for years. I probably have thousands of streams on that song. It's just in your face metal, and it's so groovy and funky, and the DJ scratchers and like the clean breaks and everything. It's the whole package. Every style of music is in that song in one form or another, and there's something about it that just got my blood pumping to go play a show in front of people.
It's like the way we feel with Sleep Token now.
Yeah.
That's one of
Sure.
the new bands that we were like, oh, they're so good. They're so good live.
Okay.
So one last song.
Last song, make
One
it count.
last song. I mean, there's a million options, that we can pick here. I think I'm gonna go with another guilty pleasure. Every Time We Touch by Cascada. There's something
Oh.
about
Yeah.
that
Okay.
song, and just like German pop music and dance music in general has such a unique sound to it. That bands now like Electric Hallboy are doing, and DJs like Ruler and stuff like that, and Sick Mode. I recently started getting more into like that whole scene of music, because in any given day there's only so much heavy stuff you can listen to before it's not heavy anymore or kind of like samey. So I got more into like the EDM and dance music side of thing, because I'm such a big nerd when it comes to like music production and sound design, like I've said multiple times. So hearing people just create sounds and these things that just they're easy to get along to, but I can appreciate them on such a deep level. So like whoever's in the car next to me is like, but for me, I'm like, man, that swell is really cool when he brings up from like the 2K to like the 20K, like, and just the different sounds and textures and stuff. And every time we touch, like, every time that song comes on, man, I just want to dance. It's fun to play on any instrument. I try to get every band I'm in to do a version of it, so that when it comes up in a set or we feel like it can work on a show, we know that everyone who's ever listened to the radio knows that song or has at least heard it in some capacity, but then I can make it a little bit heavier, So those are probably my current, if you had to pick 12 songs right now, those are the first 12 that come to mind.
I think that was a very solid 12 songs, the soundtrack of your life. Zack Seif, you've been amazing to talk to. I mean, I feel like it just flew by. Like it was so natural, and we got to like get to know you. And also, all the things you do are fucking awesome. I mean, you really have
keep up the great work.
A well-rounded life of awesomeness. And it's very enjoyable to listen to you talk about it because you're very passionate about it, and that's what we love.
Yeah, I can't thank you both enough for having me today. I love doing these longer form interviews and podcast and just discussions in general. There's nothing better than when I'm talking to a client in any of the things I do, and an hour goes by on the phone and we haven't even gotten to business yet. That's how you know, even if nothing happens, like we're still gonna be in touch, because something somewhere down the line they're gonna be like, I really enjoyed talking to that Zach guy. I think my friend could actually use one of his services, or whether it's hiring me, my wedding band to play their wedding, or they need tour cases from Quantum Industries, or they just want someone to help them learn how to make sounds on the guitar or something like that. So, giving me a platform to do this on is greatly appreciated. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys the past 2 hours.
It's been such a pleasure, and definitely keep in touch with us and let us know the next time we can meet you live and see you with one of your bands.
It'd be fun.
Especially that metal band.
Yeah, that metal band. Show us that metal band stuff.
We'll
Absolutely.
love to see you.
As soon as we're done, I'll shoot over my schedule and see if anything works.
Sounds good. Zach, thank you again so much. And we're looking forward to all of the things that you're going to be presenting and what Quantum has to offer in the future of 2026.
And have a blast at NAMM.
Yeah, enjoy.
Will do. Thank
Travel
you all
safe.
so much.
Safe travels. Thank you so much, everyone. And we hope to see you on the next podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe. Like, share, follow us everywhere.
And
follow Quantum. Follow Zach. And we'll see you again next week. We have Jed Klebowski.
He's going to have a lot of stories.
Bassist. Phenomenal bassist. He played with us a few times. And he had done so many projects we're going to be dropping in conversation with him about. And, we're excited to have him on. So tune in next week for Jed. Same place, same time. Till next time. Much love, everyone.
Much love.
Bye.